Back here with international relations analyst Emmanuel Navon. Emmanuel, we've seen several times just this week conditions being set both by the rebels and the Assad regime for a truce. None of them worked. Why do you think Russia might be willing to do that even briefly now?
Well, Russia is basically controlling the airspace in Syria, and it is attaining its goals of maintaining Assad in power, but it also is concerned about the image that this is sending to the world and to the UN and to the US. So it's mostly for PR reasons, but I think that also Vladimir Putin is trying to find out what's going to be of the new US policy after Trump is being sworn as president, because there is definitely a possibility that the United States, after the January 21st, will completely change its policy. So far, it's been hesitating between a kind of realist policy and value-based policy, and after Trump, it's going to be completely different.
And nobody knows exactly what President-elect Donald Trump is going to do.
Nobody knows, but also there is the prospect, don't forget, of in the French elections in May, of François Fillon, the candidate of the right, who is very likely to win, who's already said that if elected, he will coordinate his moves with Syria, with Assad, and with Russia. He's been talking about collaborating with Russia in order to completely defeat the Islamic State. So I think that from Putin's point of view, there's a real prospect of having more cooperation from the United States and from France a few months from now.
So if we're looking at what's going on in Aleppo now, it's about 3 weeks into an offensive, Russian Assad regime offensive into Aleppo, taking over two-thirds of East Aleppo. Are Russia and the Assad regime trying to get leverage in Aleppo so that they're in a better position to maybe negotiate once Trump gets into office?
Definitely, and as a matter of fact, Assad himself said that the victory of Aleppo will mark the victory of his regime. My guess is that both Assad and Putin want to at least keep the western part of Syria under their control, even if they have to negotiate some kind of de facto partition of the country in the east. But definitely Assad and Putin wants to keep hold of the western part of the country, and for this, they need Aleppo.
Give us a breakdown of just how significant Aleppo is, because we've seen this city taking almost all focus in the Syrian war, and certainly the focus of Russia and the Assad regime for weeks.
It's been definitely a strategic point from the Assad regime from the very start of the civil war in 2011, because it's a large city, it's symbolic, and therefore Assad and Putin are making a point of reconquering it. And as I said, Assad just said, I believe yesterday, that as far as he's concerned, as soon as Aleppo is liberated, to use his language, from the terrorists, that will mean that basically the war will have been won by his regime and by Russia.
So let's go straight live to Aleppo. Samir Ramzi, peace activist there, joining us tonight.